Alright, this is going to be the last Cloverworks anime that I'm going to be reviewing for the summer 2025 season, and that is the Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity. Yep, this anime has officially wrapped up today as I'm recording this video. I've already talked about the Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus video, so if you want to check out my full thoughts and feelings of that show, obviously go check them out. I also have other shows that I've talked about that ended for this day in particular, so all of those are also going to be available for you to check out. But with that being said, Fragrant Flowers Blooms with Dignity. This show, one of the big anticipated shows to come out of this year because it was definitely touted as like a potential best slice of life anime of the year. So let's see how I feel about it, shall we? So, like I said, this is another anime to come out by Cloverworks Studios. And like I said, I've reviewed probably almost every Cloverworks anime out under the sun right now, outside of Spy Family Season 3, which is always going to be coming out pretty soon, and this Black Butler spinoff, which unfortunately I couldn't get to because I haven't really kept up with the Black Butler franchise. But, like I said, they have come out with pretty big shows like Rascal Does Not Dream of Santa Claus, which I just talked about earlier today, the My Dress Up Darling Season 2, Windbreaker Season 2, even the Guild Receptionists anime that I talked about earlier this past year. And all of these shows, it's pretty clear that Cloverworks has been busy trying to make sure that they get their name and their forefront out there for a good reason because they've been pretty busy pumping out with these really big second season shows that a new anime show had to come out the horizon from them one way or another because they already did it big in the past, so why not do it now with this show, The Fragrant Flower Blooms with Dignity? Now, I'm not going to want to say this. When I first saw the first two episodes of the show, this franchise, this show had a lot of amazing things going for it and a lot of huge potential to being like the next big slice of life anime that I've seen in quite a while. After all, I've talked about some other big slice of life anime shows in the past, and even some I'm going to probably talk about pretty soon, such as The Dangers of My Heart Season 2, the Fruits Baskets franchise from Season 2, Season 3 specifically, even the likes of Horror Mia, which, again, I understand there are some polarizing thoughts regarding this show to this day, but I have talked about it nonetheless. And again, it's not just limited to these three shows, to be clear. There are a ton and a ton of other slice of life shows that we could go over that I think will be considered like anime of the year contenders. But this show definitely stuck out like a sore thumb because this was super high up there in the summer 2025 season of most highly anticipated anime to watch that year. And on top of it, the show, the premise, everything about it looked like it was going to go into a much more dark direction that I haven't seen done since Dangers of My Heart Season 2 or even like the Fruits Baskets franchise to be precise, right? So going into this show, I had a lot of high expectations, especially given that nowadays, if you see the current score right now, it's rated ridiculously high on my anime list, given that it's a pretty big franchise, everyone's hyping the fuck up about it, so it's gotta be great, right? Well, this is where I'm going to start off with my compliments. And start with the compliments. First and foremost, I love the characters in the show. They're really good. They're super relatable. Again, really staying true to like a lot of slice of life formulas that you can go on about as I'm just clicking through all of the characters that you see here. But our main focus focuses on Rintaro and Waguri-san. And both of these characters essentially have two different backgrounds as to where they came from, where Rintaro and Waguri-san grew up in two different households and they go to two different schools. And in this show, it really encapsulates like how intense and how divided their two schools respectively are and how much they hate each other respectively. Not the characters to be exact, but the schools in general. So Rintaro goes to the school in Chidori, whereas Maguri-san goes to the private girls' school in Kikyo Private Academy. And both of these schools basically have a huge disdain towards each other to the point that it was super present throughout the first 5, 6 episodes, I would say. And they really capture like the intensity of what happens when certain students from one of those schools respectfully just come across the camera and be like either give a huge snuff at each other or just straight up hate each other downright to the point that they're like, "Don't touch me" or some shit like that. And it actually had such a really amazing premise and like honestly, like every time whenever certain side characters would interact with another side character, it made me like wonder and figure out like, oh shit, how deep and how dark is this show gonna go? Because I didn't know like where it was gonna go. Like it had so much amazing potential where it created this moment of intensity, but also unpredictability of what certain characters are going to do every time they come on screen. The best example of this is the interactions. Our first interaction with one of the main characters, Subaru, who is Waguri-san's best friend, and um, Subaru Hoshino essentially always hated guys, never liked guys in the first place. But the reason she hated guys in the first place is actually a lot more deeper and a lot more complex, as explained throughout this show. And when she first encountered Rintaro's friends with Saku, Ayata, and Shohei, she immediately assumes that okay, these three guys are total piece of shit. All they care about is sex appeal and why my hair color looks so weird and creepy. And meanwhile, that's not the case at all. Like these three are just wondering, like, hey, what's going on? Are you okay? What's the gist of it? And in those moments, like whenever Rintaro or Waguri-san has to break that tension, they breaks the tension really well, and it ends towards like, okay, whew, thank God, like no punches were thrown, no more bigger fucked up insults are being thrown at each other. It's all good, calms in the water. And those type of moments, like I mentioned just now, really kept the show's momentum really, really well. And then, of course, you have a lot of the slice life aspects that you've seen in a lot of these big shows that's still prevalent, and it just showcases again Rintaro and Waguri's slowly but growing relationship towards each other, and why they like certain things, why they feel certain ways towards each other and to their friends. And in this whole show in general, we mainly just focus on Rintaro's backstory and what makes him the person that at first wasn't sure about himself, wasn't confident in himself, but slowly but surely as the show progresses, he becomes like actually confident, actually willing to do more things outside what he does now. And it actually, with how he is, it actually has like a pretty interesting ripple effect that affects all of his friends and even going far to affecting his family too. So you had those moments that was really good, that really was like, okay, this really stood out really well and is being told a really nice cohesive story. Even the finale of the final two episodes of the show really showcase like how deep Rintaro and Waguri-san's relationship truly is, as in the final moments of this show we get to finally see Waguri's side and how she first started, and how now that throughout this whole time we've been seeing it through Rintaro's eyes, but now we're finally getting to get what Guri-san's been through, what she was thinking about during the first time they met with each other, and how this whole story started in the first place. And this stemmed from even before the whole school rivalry stuff. And I love it. It's really great. And I think that in terms of how the show ended, I think the ending of the show is really good, is spectacular, and I love every bit of it. So with that being said, I think there are some issues I have with the show, because at the end of the day, I think that a lot this is going to be everyone's like slice of life anime of the year, maybe the best slice of life anime they've seen in the past 10 years. For me, I don't think this is my favorite slice of life anime, and here's the reason why. One, this is a 13 episode long series, so I really think that this show needs a season two in general for me to really appreciate what this show had to offer. Because again, for a show like Dangers in My Heart, for example, it didn't take me a while till we got season two to for me to actually love and appreciate this show for what it's offered. Same thing goes with Fruits Baskets, where they got 3 seasons, and it honestly ended with one of the greatest storytelling slice of animes of the last decade, of this decade to be exact. And unfortunately to me, this like once we got to the second half of the show, it felt like we were kind of rushing it and just like bombarding it just to get it out of the way, which kind of was unfortunately reminiscent of like the horror Mia series to a degree. But again, I feel like if this is how the show was talked or how the show was adapted from the manga to the anime, it's understandable. But I just wish that like they really continued the intensity and like the whole tension of like how it was from the earlier half of this show, because it had a lot of something special going into the show, and it felt like it kind of got thrown out the wayside once everyone was like, okay, we're now friends, everyone's happy, there's no tension between each other and all of his friends here and there, and it's like, man, I kind of wish we explored more of that. And even the show, in my personal opinion, like at least in the earlier episodes, really was hinting about like why the school of Chidori and why the school of Kyokyo had this huge, intense like rivalry towards each other, why they hate each other. I just wish they explored more of that in the show. And unfortunately, with just 13 episodes, I think it just wasn't explored enough because at the end of the day, the show from that point forward just focuses more on Rintaro and Wagari-san and every one of our side character friends and like how the relationship blossoms as the show progresses further. So overall, I think that this show is still like a nice, really strong slice of life anime to come out of this year. I can't really say that again. This is definitely going to top and dethrone shows like this or shows like this, in my opinion. But this is still a really good and commendable show nonetheless. And I can see why this was super big and super high up there in the summer 2025 rollout. And I gotta say, one more thing before I wrap this up. I gotta say, Cloverworks, they've been without a doubt really, really busy pumping out these really nice, really high quality shows that, for the most part, have been amazing and well received. And it's gonna be interesting how their final anime that they're gonna drop this year with Spy Family Season 3 is gonna turn out. But with that being said, I am honestly feeling like I feel like a decent 8 on this thing. It's really good. It has a lot of strong moments. Some things I am a little questionable about, but I think this is still a nice, strong outing of what the show and this genre has to offer. And yeah, just want to talk about this a little bit. That's it. I'll see you on the next one. Later.